Hello, everyone. First, I would like, of course, to thank the organizers for making this happen. I'm really honored and glad and pleased to be with all of you to share what I have to share and hear what you have to say as well. It's already been a very pleasant experience, and I hope we'll have much greater times coming ahead. So my presentation is about why hackers seem to have ahead of us or seem to have the upper edge. And I would like actually to start with some quotes from really well-known brands or vendors. So we know that cybersecurity depends on or reliant is on contributions big and small from everyone at any organization. And I would love or I would like to believe that we know that cybersecurity is also not a technical issue, it's a business issue. And also IBM says that some dangerous myths that we have and we are becoming aware that we have are cybercriminals are outsiders, risks are well known, and attack vectors are contained. I'm hoping that I'm stating the obvious here. I don't really want to, I'm not saying something that is weird or something, so I really hope that I'm stating the obvious. But although we know that cybersecurity is reliant on everybody's contribution, we still suffer from 95% of attacks include the human error. And more interestingly, 90% of employees who do bad practices, they know that they're doing bad practices. So basically, we know that we're doing the not perfect thing, but we will still do it anyways. Other than that, as it's been mentioned already, the cost of cybercrime is around $8 trillion this year. And those I was just mentioned some practices that are not really good, matching to Gartner's statistics here. So if you're in the tech side, you will know the first and the last ones, which are, I have a security step in the pipeline, it's really bothering, I will just skip it this time, and maybe the couple of 100 times later. The last one is also regarding or related to tech, which is I will depend on front-end guards, and I will not really check on the back end if the payload, let's say, or the user input is good or not. The two in the middle are, I guess, all employees could do them. They're not tech specific. So I am Ali Hassan. I'm a security engineer at xChange. I was a security engineer for the last year. Before that, I was actually a red teamer. I used to be an application penetration tester and, of course, application API and all stuff. And I believe that I'm a superhero, and I believe that we all are. Everybody who's working in the security field is a superhero because we are protecting or providing the safety sense, which is linked in my imagination, and I believe to all of us, is what do Superman and Batman and all those cool guys did. I work at a container exchange. It's a logistic company. We are facing amazing challenges on the operations side, moving containers all around the globe, shipping containers, by the way, all around the globe. Yeah. And along with operational challenges, we've been facing crazy technical challenges as well. So why do hackers seem to have the upper edge? I have brainstormed a little bit, and I would like to know if you have any ideas there. I would just give you 10 seconds. If you have any ideas, let's hear them. If not, then of course I will commence. Okay, I'll come back to you. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry? They have the same tools and they have the intention, so it's possible to hack, right? Okay. Yeah, please. Great. That's good enough, I say. Any other ideas? I would love to. This is kind of similar. Perfect. Two options. I mean, two people were good enough. Every idea is good. Like I had a lot of ideas, and they're all valid. But again, it comes at the end. Our sense of hackers winning comes back to, yes, they have to be right once, and we have to be right all the time as defenders. But do we really have to be right all the time? Does the basics of security says that we need to be right all the time? If that is true, then there is absolutely no need for risk assessment. Because if we have to be right all the time, that means that you'll have no risk at all, and you don't need to assess the risk actually. So I would like to ask 2 questions here and not just one. The second one would be do hackers have the upper edge? So we have a sense that they seem to have the upper edge. First, do they really have the upper edge? And second, so I will be handling the 2 questions from now on. How to really think about those 2 questions? I would like first to know what is a winning attack and what is a losing defense, because they are different. We misconceptualize them and we think that they are the same, but they are different. These are my ideas of what is a winning attack and what is a losing defense is. We can argue about what is a better definition, but I believe that those are good to start with. So a winning attack is basically when an attacker finds and exploits a vulnerability to do what they want to do with it, which is their goal, whatever the motive is. And of course, they have to do it before losing motivation. On the other hand, a losing defense would be also the attackers finding and exploiting a vulnerability that would make us, or an organization or the target, pays more than what they would expect, which is an unaccepted amount of money in a specific period of time. And I believe that the last 2 conditions, which is an unexpected amount of money in a specific period of time, is the closest to risk assessment. This is why we do risk assessment, basically. So to moving forward, again, from those definitions, we can ask ourselves other questions or additional questions. So what makes an attack possible, or a winning attack? So how do hackers find vulnerabilities? We need to know, by the way. And how do they exploit them? How long does it take? What are the motives? And do they have any blockers or demotives? And on the winning defense side, why weren't we able to detect the attack in the first place? Did we know that we were vulnerable or not? If not, why didn't we know? If yes, why didn't we fix it? If we thought that we fixed it, then why wasn't the fix or the control that we put in place effective? Those are really generic and big questions, and I believe that this is what we do all the time. This is the life of a security engineer, or offensive or a defensive side, doesn't matter. So this is what we deal with every day. I'm not going to go through a lot of details here, but I just would really point out that I would love it if we all knew a little bit about the left side, because you really need to know how the attacker works and what they do, so that you know how to defend yourself, really. I have worked for a couple of years. I worked for 2 years in the red teaming side, which is an attacking side. And when I moved to the defensive side, I really believe that we don't quite understand. We sometimes work on really big solutions, really big technologies. We overcomplicate. This is the point. Attackers have open source tools that they cost nothing, scripts that they are kind of 100 or 200 lines of code, and they will find a way with 100 lines of code, and that's it. They don't need 10,000 lines of code, you know? We already seem to be looking in the kind of a wrong place. But again, I'm not saying that something is wrong or right, but I would like now to go through some statistics and see what we can get out of it. So basically, the latest study that I've read from SANS is around attackers. So basically, the respondents were attackers, and 56 plus of the respondents say that they can break into a system and do the whole end-to-end attack in around a day, 25 hours. So basically, in more details, an attacker needs 10 hours. It's of course an average, but an attacker takes 10 hours to find a vulnerability, or to find a vulnerability, let's put it this way. 5 hours to break in, which is to exploit. Another 5 hours to pivot or do privileged escalations. And then another 5 hours to exfiltrate data. So basically, an attack end-to-end is around 1 day. If you are that quick, you're on the safe side. But this is usually difficult to be that quick. Depends. Moving on. This is from HackerOne, by the way, which is a really well-known, I guess, bug bounty platform. These are the list of the top 10 bugs that are found And these are listed or ordered by how much the company pays. So basically, how much money did the hackers or bug hunters get money for those vulnerabilities? So of course, it might be of how big is the bounty itself or how many bounties were there. The point here is 4 out of the top 10 and 3 out of the top 5 are, if you really look into them, they're not that technical attacks. I don't know if everybody here is technically close enough to applications. Those are related to applications most likely. But all of those 4 attacks could be done by changing a number in a URL. This is basically what I can say here. So they are very, very simple, that they could be done by somebody who have no idea what a firewall is, or what a SQL injection is, or what MySQL is. So you don't need to know, to be really advanced in technologies to know, or to hack, basically. And by the way, many bug hunters are not coming from a technical background. It is interesting for me to keep that in mind as well. The skills, on the other hand, that hackers have, most hackers are really advanced when it comes to reconnaissance, which means, by the way, information gathering, intelligence gathering, just looking for an error. So it does not have to be the case that you actually build a really sophisticated system, understands a really sophisticated system, and the call is going from the front end to the back end to the database, and then to a queue somewhere and calling another system on another. It doesn't really have to be that complex. It could be just as simple as poking around, looking for something that is not properly set. And again, I'm focusing on this. Again, I'm not really bringing something that is really shocking or surprising, but this is 90% of the attacks all around the globe. If 90% of the attacks are based or contains the human error element, then basically it's not the technology who's failing us. That's the point. It's how we do it, basically. We do know that, but we need to keep that in mind. So they also asked the respondents if the initial attack vector, which means that usually attackers or bug hunters, they specify, they professionalize in 2-3 attacks. So I'm really, really proficient in SQL injection, XSS, and SRF, let's say. So I would try those specific attacks on multiple platforms. And this is application, I'm talking application. If it's on the network layer, different attacks, but that's the same. So I will try those 3 attacks that I'm very proficient with. And if they did not work, most attackers have less than 40% of the attackers believe that they still can find an exploit and exploit it, by the way. So if we just stop the top well-known attacks that we know that attackers are using all the time, which are very known, by the way, if we just stop those, we already blocked 60% of attackers globally, which I believe really worth looking into. So what factors are impacting the attack surface? Again, according to SANS, or to the surveys that SAN did, the top 3 are third-party connections, and then comes increased pace in application development, and then remote work. So basically, the thing that mostly is impacting our surface stack is how much we use third-party, either tools or packages or connections or whatever we're using, but the things that we are not building. And this is really understood because I don't know how many security members you have in the company and what is the ratio of the security team like divided on the size of the company, but I don't really believe that you know what you have. And this is a discussion that we had already with most of you guys. So I know that we don't really know what we have. So adding to that, we don't know what we build actually. So adding to that, the tools that we use from other vendors or third parties, it just make it really crazy. This is one thing. The next thing is increased pace of application development. It's not a technical issue again. what I would really like to say again on those top three, the three of them are not really hardcore technical issues. If you really look into them, they're not really that hard, that technical. Cool. So this is, I guess it's the last slide of a winning attack, which is what are the top attacks that brings you return on investment, which means the attacker in the first two cases, which is social engineering and phishing attacks, they don't have to pay anything. They can launch thousands and thousands of email or phishing attempts in a matter of a click because it's already automated, and they will get a lot of money out of it. So they are like phishing attacks and social engineerings are 50% of attacks, and they are the top in the revenue. So again, it's the human element here. Okay, that was a winning attack, or that what seemed like a winning attack. So what, from our side as defenders, what our losing defense seems like? Do you remember how much time does it take for an end-to-end attack? Anybody remembers? We just mentioned it. Exactly. So basically, an attacker needs a day to make the last call to your endpoint or to make the last connection with your network. So in 25 hours, you will never see an indicator. You'll never see an indicator of compromise in your network. So there's no calls to grab any data or exploit anything. Everything is done. And usually companies need around 200 days just to know that it happened. So we're kind of 200 days falling behind, which is, of course, understood. If we think about it technically, it is, to be honest, understood, because an attack, again, could be just changing a number in a call, which no CM tool will tell you that, oh, somebody changed the number in this endpoint, which is, this is how the application works. So why is it an attack? So basically, not only it's not technical, but if it's logical. So even AI, until now, even AI has no chance to know if this is an attack or not. And I would argue that also I will not have a chance, because even a human being sitting behind a desktop or whatever, a monitor, seeing the calls, they will never know. I need to check if the user actually can have access to this. So I need to look at some reference to check, which is really difficult to automate. And even for the human being, it's not that simple. But we can also look at in specific types of attacks, how much time it's taking. So basically, again, we say that stolen or compromised credentials, business emails, and phishing attacks take much longer to detect, which is, again, arguably is understood, right? Nothing really technically specific, no hundreds of calls are being made. It's just an email that landed on somebody's email and box, and they just clicked the link. So who knows? Those three, by the way, those top three are the same here. So basically, we see that stolen, compromised credentials, business emails, phishing, and we can include the fourth one because they are really reflecting on how many times they're happening. So the frequency of an attack happening is the X, or they're going left, the frequency is increasing, and going up, the costing is increasing per attack, of course. So we have the most common attacks, or the most frequent attacks, are stolen credentials, then comes phishing, and then let's just skip cloud misconfiguration because it seemed to be of a low cost, which is still costly, but we're just taking the top ones here. It's clear that the top four are business emails, phishing, and business email compromise, phishing, stolen credentials, and vulnerability in third-party tools that we're using. Again, the majority here is not a technical attack, and it again includes the human element. So one of the things that we usually try to do is, if people are making the mistakes, then let's train those people. Let's tell the people, please don't make that mistake. According to Proofpoint, only 13% of companies do more than 3 hours of security training or awareness per year. I don't know how many hours you do in your own company, but this is a really small number, right? 3 hours of security per year is, I mean, come on. But still, 80% of organizations who do cybersecurity awareness and training, they have actually sensed or felt already, they can feel that the attack rate of a phishing, like the success rate of a phishing attack is less, which actually indicates that training and awareness is already kind of a solution here, or at least helps. This is one thing that I wanted to point out. And the other point really touches me personally and touches, I guess, everyone who's working in the field sadly, which is the sad and dark fact of, first, despite of having a gap of 3.45 almost million jobs that we don't have any professional to cover, more than 2/3 of people who work in cybersecurity feels like we're quitting. We have 80% of security professionals suffering from a burnout. Why is that the case? Again, this is, by the way, one of the main reasons I wanted to talk about this issue, which is why do hackers seem to have the upper edge. If you are playing a losing game for 10 years, you will suffer from burnout. If you feel that you're going to work losing every day to an attacker who's sending a phishing email to somebody, I mean, you will not be that happy. If you're not actually celebrating any wins for the last 6 months, again, you will not be that happy. Which is, for me, I really believe that this does not have to be the reality that we work in. What I'm saying here is let's care about ourselves a bit, and let's remember that security, again, is not a technical problem. It's a business issue. So we are there to serve the business. But the business, which is management or the leaders or the owners of the business, should care before us. They should care about security, and then we will support. I'm not gonna run around just to convince people to do the right thing if they don't really believe that they need to do the right thing. When we all agree that we need to do the right thing, then yes, we are there to support. Let's try to make everybody aware of this. So the top reasons why professionals actually leave companies. First, they're moving to another company, which does not really say anything, to be honest, because, I mean, come on, you're still in the same field. So basically, you don't like the company that you work in. And then apparently you're going to move to a third company and a fourth one, just looking for somewhere that you don't feel that you're losing, basically. Which, if we kept it this way, you'll never find a company where you feel that you're winning. I know that there are, of course, some companies are better than others, but the whole game needs to change. That's the point. Second reason is high stress, and the fourth reason is lack of management support, which is a bit surprising. So basically, cybersecurity professionals feel that they cannot win. It's too complicated and we just can't win. In more details, this is kind of the same ideas, but just in more details. So basically, cybersecurity professionals are changing jobs to look for growth, and they're running away from negative cultures. Sorry. Which is good. But again, we have the negative culture. Where does that sense come from? And where is the losing sense coming from? So those are the issues or the negative issues that cybersecurity professionals sense or feel. The red ones are having the worst impact, let's say, or the least good impact in both. But let's start from the left there. So my employer does not value or listen to my input. This is what brings down most, or this is the most thing that brings a security person down. People are not listening. So basically, I feel that I care about security more than anyone, and I need to convince each single person to care about security, which is it does not have to be the case. You are a supporter, a facilitator. You're not there to convince every single person that security matters. Okay, just think about police in a street. A police person is there to help you if you got robbed, if somebody breaks into your house, but they're not gonna knock on doors, check if you locked your door or not. You have to do it, and they will be there to support you if something extremely happened. So this is the least, or this is the saddest thing. But those are apparently all not really great things. And on the right-hand side, we see what organizations actually did to try to help, and if they are really helpful or not. So again, the 53 red one here is something that is not helping, but you can please skip that, because I believe that we do need certifications. I mean, because why not? Come on. Cool. But something is really helpful, again, is listening to security people more. Cool. So again, to our two questions, which are why do hackers seem to have the upper edge, and do they really have the upper edge? At this point, I believe that we have a good idea of why do they seem to have the upper edge. But the second question is for you, your organization, or you personally to decide. Do they have the upper edge really or not? So yes, we seem to be losing the game, but if still the lost or the losing defenses that we have still are acceptable in our profile, risk profile, or it's still okay to pay that much, and we don't want to pay for fixing or for whatever, mitigation, then that's fine, then we're not losing. But if we are really losing, then I really believe that it's a culture issue. Again, the majority of attacks are non-technical attacks. So you don't need a really sophisticated, I don't know how many Ks of dollars to protect. Of course, you're going to need those tools. I'm not saying that don't do this. I'm just saying that you can skip just keep in mind that you can focus on other issues as well. So culture, and those are the main points that I believe would help. So management has to be there. Human ops can help. Training. Please hire more of a non-senior professionals, because the tasks don't usually require somebody with 10 years of experience to check if a password is sophisticated enough or not, or to tell somebody to not click on a phishing email. And by the way, I believe that the last one is also very valuable. Wait for teams to create their own security processes, because the point is that they care about it and you're there to support, not you are there to create processes and then try to enforce processes all around. This is if we are losing. If we're not losing, then please, 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 please just communicate some positivity. You don't have to have the sense of losing if you're not really losing, right? So if you're not losing, acknowledge that, communicate that, and set up realistic KPIs, because to give you something to actually celebrate about, and then lastly, celebrate. I really believe that this is what we can do to improve security all around. And I really believe that we are now living in a technology world. So technology is not really a business tool anymore. We're living in technology, and we do have great power. We're creating this world, and with great power comes great responsibility. Again, we're not the only people who are responsible for this. Everybody is responsible for this. Thank you so very much, and I would be real pleased to discuss anything in the roundtable.
I think now it's time for an applause for Ali.
Thank you very much.